Welcome back to Acadiana's Morning News this morning, and we are touching on, like we do every Monday morning, branding. And we have Jaci Russo with Russo Branding here. Jaci, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, we're doing great. Let's talk real quick. Let's talk sports. You watching this series?
I mean, I don't think anybody got enough sleep last night. That was one heck of a game.
Absolutely, and it's been 5 games in the books already, and they've been some great games to watch. I
have to agree that, all the games have been good, and no matter who you're rooting for, it's just good baseball.
Absolutely.
But last night's game was one for the books.
Yeah, up and down roller coaster battle as far as home runs go and whatnot.
And so many records broken.
Absolutely.
Number of home runs, length of the game. I mean, just all of it. And, I really thought it was going to replay a game 2 with those 2 starting pitchers. And wow, weren't we surprised?
Yeah, both starting pitchers got shut down pretty early in the game.
Yeah.
And it led to very exciting later on. But talking about our blog this week.
Yes.
Your blog this week, talking about fundraising.
It's all about branding. And so, no matter what you do, your company probably has some sort of community service project that they're connected to. You personally might serve on a board or donate your time to a cause that you believe in. Your kids may go to a school or play on a sports team that has to raise money. So at some point, you're going to find yourself with your hand out. And it's important to know how to raise funds. And, the first thing you've got to do is figure out how to tell a story. And this morning was a great example of telling a story. So as most people, I think, probably realize, because I talk about it so much, my son goes to Berkman's Academy, which is the all-boys school in Grand Coteau. It's funny, in New Orleans, there's all these single-gender schools. Mm-hmm. Every school is single-gender.
Right.
We've only got one girls' school and one boys' school here.
Right.
And so they were in a big state championship playoff football game this weekend. And it's the first time they've ever made it to the finals in football, because the varsity program's only 4 years old.
Right, it's a fairly new program, yeah.
Fairly new, yeah. The school's 12 years old, but it takes a while to build all the way up to 12th grade.
Sure.
And so they won, and it was super exciting. It was a highlight. My son's the quarterback, and he's a senior, so it was a really big deal.
Fantastic.
And we were super, after winning baseball state title last year, to come back and win football this year was really great. So I wake up and read an article in a local newspaper, and the headline is about the team we played against and about their bid for a 3rd straight title and their loss. And the entire article is about their loss, their play on the field, their players. Never mentioned our coach, never mentioned our players, never mentioned anything. And I thought, boy, what a great example about telling a story, because that story was framed from the perspective of one side, not the victor.
Sure.
And so I thought, that's how it should be. When you see something like that, you've got to change the conversation. You've got to change the story and make it from the perspective that's going to be the most appealing to the audience. We had 580, maybe 600 people at that stadium. And if they're reading that article, they're thinking, wait, is that the game I was at? Because that's not anything about
interesting, yeah.
us.
Right.
And so you've got to frame the story in a way that's really going to connect with people and make an impact. Mm-hmm. The second thing you have to do is be relevant. Mm-hmm. And so it's got to be something that's going to connect with other people and make sure that they have some connection to it, that it feels personal to them. It's got to be something that touches them in a way, in an appropriate way. Well, anytime you're talking about touching these days, it's got to be appropriate touching. So we're talking about emotional connection. And so it's got to be a way that really is connective to them, that makes them think, I can see myself in that picture. That's about my kid. Mm-hmm. That could be about my life, my job, my spouse, my hometown. And so when we feel connected to it, we feel more powerful and more pulled towards it, and it's more compelling.
And as far as that goes, you see all these efforts to tug at your heartstrings. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a negative light.
Right.
If you want to reach somebody emotionally, it could be something very positive as well.
Absolutely. Emotion is connective, whether it's joyful or sad. Mm-hmm. It's just emotional. And I think most people, when they think emotional, are like, oh, you're trying to make me cry.
Yeah.
It's not about that.
Right.
It's about just making you feel. In this day and age, we're pulled in so many different directions. There's so much clutter out there. There's so much bad news. There's so much politics. So if we can find a way to take a step back and draw someone in with you and make them feel your cause, you'll be connected to it.
So I got to ask you about this then, because there's a group and they do some commercials and it's about animals. I can't watch those commercials.
Right.
I can't listen to them.
Right.
So for me, the message, all it makes me do is turn away.
Well, and that's heavy-handed. So if you're pulling out the Sarah McLachlan Angel song,
yes.
And it's
and
sad.
I feel terrible. I do, and I think about pets all the time. But
why feel terrible? Why not uplift you?
I don't want to feel that way.
And that's the thing is, I think most people get confused when they think about emotional connection. They think about making people feel bad or feel sad, or making them cry. And it's not that. It's about joy and happy and uplifting. There's always two sides to that coin.
Exactly.
And so you've got to find the positive. You want to make it aspirational. It's something that people want to strive towards, not run away from.
Yeah, because that's how I feel every time.
Yeah, you want to run away from it.
Right. Okay, so I immediately think, oh, yeah, I'm going to help locally. But then I'm like, oh, I can't take this part.
No.
And it loses the message over time.
Right.
For me.
Well, you know, it's you go back all the way to, not to pick on somebody locally, so we'll look international, to Sally Struthers.
Yes.
The kids.
Yeah.
Feed the children,
right,
remember?
Yeah. And that was so
way
sad.
overdone. And it was.
It was just horrible. And so what you should do in that situation is find some people who have benefited from the program, who have turned their lives around, show that, and that's when we go back to aspirational.
Yeah. And because if people do, they're going to feel better about themselves. They're going to see that their money is being directed to something. Okay, but let me ask you this.
Sure.
So but what if it is something, I guess, just so severe and traumatic? Some things it seems like you can't talk about, right?
There's always a survivor. There's always a victor. There's always a good positive spin on it. Always. Okay. There's always a way to position the story in a positive light. Always.
Okay.
In the midst of all of the darkness, there's always that little bright light.
Okay.
And so it's about finding faith. It's about finding fellowship. It's about finding family. It's about finding a victory. There's some victory there somewhere. And maybe the victory hasn't happened yet, but with your help, the victory can happen. Right.
Okay.
That's how you lead people to a solution. That's how you draw them in and bring them to some place that's positive. It's got to be about finding a way to connect you to it, make it relevant, and then find a positive spin on it. Because if it's dark and it's doom and it's gloom, that will turn people away every time.
Yeah. Well, and I think something that can support that fundraising effort is to engage. Of course you have to engage your audience, but you have to empower them to say, here's how you can help, of course, in a positive light. And how do we empower that audience?
You're like a mind reader, because that's the third one, is empower people. So it's really simple. I can just write a check and donate and be done.
Right.
Or I can volunteer my time and my talents and make sure that I'm helping. And then you get it exponentially bigger. So when you want to empower the people, it's about the people around you. It's about drawing in advocates. It's about finding other people who believe in the cause. So you brought up animals. So everybody out here has some soft spot for animals. So you find the ones who care the most about it, and you get them to volunteer their time, to foster. Maybe they can't personally adopt, but they can help you find two people who can.
Who could, yeah.
And so those two people adopting is twice as good as just one person adopting. And that's how you're able to expand the method.
Exponentially then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So more and more people. Okay. Any final thoughts as we're kind of wrapping up here today?
Well, you want to earn trust. And so when you're telling a story, it's got to be a story that's true. You do not want to over-exaggerate. Exaggerate a little, but not over-exaggerate. You just want to connect with them in a way that's going to feel real, so that it has to be real.
Yeah.
So if you're just winging it, if you're making it up, if you're going too far to the extreme, and if you're too negative, you're going to lose people.
Yeah. That negativity, man, it shoots it down.
Every
people
time.
Just get done.
Every time.
Yeah, it breaks your heart too far.
Once again, on this Monday is Jaci Russo with Russo Branding. You can check out her blog at razorbrandingblog.com on all her latest blog entries, and we'll have this post up on KPEL 965. Thank you, Jaci, for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
And try to get some sleep on Tuesday and Wednesday night after the games.
No, that's the thing. I mean, we got 2 more games coming, so everybody sleeps tonight and power up for the rest.
That's right.
Go.
Although
CVP
I think
wants us to cancel Halloween.
Oh, well, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I know.
But I think the Stros can take it in 6. I think they're going to go back to L.A. on the high from this.
I agree.
And just knock it out.
But as a huge Astros fan, I kind of want to see a Game 7 just to make it last a little bit longer.
Sure. Sure. I'm ready for high school and college baseball to start now.
Good point. Good point.
It's time.
And good luck to those guys out there as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jackie.
All right, coming up now on 7:53, if you're just joining us about the traffic, yes, it is clogged and congested. So, especially on U.S. Highway 190 eastbound. So earlier this morning, there was a situation traffic-wise that happened on I-10 eastbound. And so it happened I-10 eastbound, and this was in the Grosstead area involving some 18-wheelers. A fatality in that situation, so the I-10 eastbound lane's closed in that area, so they're redirecting traffic. So if you take I-10 eastbound to Lafayette to get all the way to Baton Rouge, they're going to divert you up to I-49 northbound, and then you'll be able to take 190 eastbound in the Opelousas area if you have to go to Baton Rouge this morning. So just be aware that that is happening today, and we'll, of course, keep you posted on what's happening and all the different updates that we might have involving that. Double-checking other traffic, I-10 westbound, mile marker 100, I-10 westbound, mile marker 100, and I-10 eastbound, mile marker 102. All right, so you got it in the same area pretty much. Oh, okay, now they're updating. I-10 eastbound, mile marker 102, and I-10 eastbound, westbound now 102, and a traffic light malfunction, Johnston at Vital. So it's kind of a nightmare traffic-wise out there. So,
of course, everybody be careful out there. Be patient. It's a Monday morning. If you're heading the I-10 corridor, prepare for some delays. And keep it right here in the Acadiana Morning News.
Absolutely. All right, coming up on 7:55, got more to come on our show Fox News at the top of the hour.